Alright folks, what's the crack, and welcome back to a new series that I'm going to be doing on my channel. I'm going to be comparing Monday Night Raw from the Attitude Era in 2000 to 2016, the present day Raw. Why 2000? Why the fuck not? I mean, the timelines match up almost perfectly. There's only one day in the difference between them in the years. Judgement Day was held on May 21st, 2000. Extreme Rules was held on May 22nd, 2016. So there's only one day in the difference. Add on to that the fact that there was a massive return at each of those pay-per-views. Of course, Undertaker for Judgement Day, Seth Rollins for Extreme Rules. They match up really well on three sorts of occasions. So we're going to be comparing Raw head to head from the Attitude Era to present day to find out once and for all, is Attitude Era Raw really better than today's? I know that with tinted glasses on, nostalgia, people love Attitude Era, but they give the current product lots of shit, and rightfully so. But does it deserve all that shit? That's what we're here to find out. So without further ado, let's get into this new series, Attitude Era versus present day. Let's do this. We'll start with the Attitude Era Raw. Straight after Judgment Day, Vince comes down the ramp with his typical Vince strutting away, and he is happy as Larry because Triple H is once again the World Wrestling Federation champion after beating The Rock the night before. So Vince makes The Rock compete in a 1-on-4 match with Road Dogg, X-Pac, Triple H and Shane in the main event, just trying to screw him, stick the screws to him even further. He also goes on to say that Taker is not a WWF superstar. He's not back signed to the company. He's out of contract. He hasn't got a contract. And this leads to Vince walking to the back, walking to his limo, and The Rock attacking him. He walks up from behind, there you see it, and starts smacking the bollocks out of Vince. The crowd in the background are going absolutely ballistic here. Great little touch from The Rock. Gets rid of the trash can lid and just, yeah, great stuff. So this is the whole story arc for the show. This is The Rock taking out the McMahon family one by one so we can get to Triple H at the very end. So this led us into our first match of the night, a tag team match between Test and Albert with Trish, the heel team, versus the Hardy Boys. Very basic stuff. First match of the night, and it just got 4 minutes. That's all it got for the first match, and Test and Albert went over. Very simple stuff. The next match, believe it or not, was a European title match. Eddie Guerrero, the defending champion, with Mamacita herself, Chyna, during all that storyline, versus, you better recognize, D'Lo Brown. Eddie gets the win after 2.5 minutes. Very simple stuff again. The next match was a 3-man tag team match. Edge, Christian and Kurt Angle, who are doing their funny comedy shtick around this time, came up against Rikishi and Too Cool. Edge and Christian, the defending champions of course at the time, and they went over in a measly 3 minutes. The first 3 matches of this card got like less than 10 minutes. Back into the main storyline of the show now. This is Shane arriving at the arena, and we're going to see Hardcore Champion. Yes, Hardcore Champion. Do you remember that? Jerry Briscoe trying to tell Shane here, Shane, Rock has got to Vince, Rock has got to a Road Dogg, Rock has got to X-Pac. He's locked them in a truck. Shane isn't interested. He's so happy after defeating the Big Show the night before. He doesn't want to hear anything from Jerry Briscoe. He's going to go to the ring and call out The Rock, and here comes The Rock, and Rock is just going to smack the lips right off of Shane and kick him out of the building as well. So he's gotten Vince, he's gotten Road Dogg, he's gotten X-Pac, and now he's getting rid of Shane, all the 4 members of the 1-on-4 handicap match. After this, we had a second title match of the night as Chris Benoit, the Intercontinental Champion, went up against Val Venus. The match ended in a no contest after Hardcore Holly got involved. Y2J after that. This was the longest match of the night at 7 minutes. In the third tag team match of the night so far, the Dudley Boys defeated Bull Buchanan, remember him, and the Big Bossman in a simple 5-minute match. That led into Crash Holly pissing off Bradshaw and pouring beer over his head, which led to a 2-minute squash match of Bradshaw just destroying Crash Holly. That led into our fourth tag team match of the night as the Godfather and S.A. Reyes with the sexy ass young leader went on against Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn. Dean Malenko left Perry Saturn after Godfather gave him the choice of hose. He wanted 2, he got 2. Perry Saturn still won in 2.5 minutes or so, and that was the last match on this edition of Raw. That gives us a total match time of 25 minutes from a 90-minute long show. That's 4 tag team matches, 2 championship matches, 25 minutes in total, and there was also 19.5 minutes of backstage segments in between the start of Raw till the Perry Saturn match. This brings us nicely to the main event segment of the show, 20 minutes long, where The Rock calls out Triple H. He says he wants his title back. He lost it under controversial circumstances, but before he can do that, he gets jumped by all the other boys in the corporation who he locked away earlier. Here comes Shane back now. Vince eventually comes hobbling down to the ring as well, but then this happens. And Undertaker makes his Raw return, kicking the shit out of all of the rest of them. Look at that big boot to Shane, knocking Vince down the ramp. Absolutely beautiful. Huge rock bottom on Triple H to close out the show. Rock standing tall on the top rope, smelling the air, if you smell what he's cooking. And we're into present day Raw. So just like the Raw after Judgment Day, this Raw also started with a nice long promo. Seth Rollins this time came out, as we all know, and clarified once and for all that he is staying as a heel, whether you like it or not. This brought out Roman Reigns to say no one really cares what he said, but Shane came out as well and made the main event for Money in the Bank nice and early, so we all know this didn't happen on Raw in the Attitude Era, although we all knew it would be Rock and Triple H, but that got 13 minutes at the very top of the show. Another similarity between Raw from present day and Raw from 2000 is the fact that back then they were qualifying for King of the Ring. This year we're qualifying for Money in the Bank, and the opening match on Raw this year was Sheamus versus Sami Zayn, which Sami won in 11 minutes. A nice strong opening to Raw, much better, I think you'll agree, than Test and Albert versus Jeff and Matt. Next up we had New Day coming out to celebrate quote unquote Raw's birthday, which made zero sense because wouldn't that mean every episode of Raw is Raw's birthday? No, it was just Raw's 1200th episode, and they had a big cake there, and they beat the Social Outcasts in less than just under 5 minutes. All that matters here, Heath Slater got a cake in the face. Next up we had a second Money in the Bank qualifying match. That was Miz versus Cesaro. Miz, the IC champion, of course, and Cesaro beats him in 8 minutes. So a decent bit of an outing there for a champion. This leads us nicely to a backstage segment between Rollins and Steph, where Rollins is all like, "Hey Steph, I'm back. Do you wanna pick up where we left off and give me your back in as the authority, and I'll be your boy, and you can give me all those perks?" And she's all like, "No, there's a new regime here. Sorry, you gotta do it all by yourself." And Rollins is like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna do that by myself." This leads us nicely to a second King of the Ring fucking Money in the Bank qualifying match. Apollo Crews versus Y2J. It will only be remembered for that big botch at the end. Apollo Crews losing in just under 8 minutes to the Money in the Bank creator Chris Jericho. One of the pops of the night came when Enzo Amore made his return from a concussion. Thank God, because let's face it, 85 to 90% of that act is Enzo Amore. This led us nicely into a Big Cass versus Bubba Ray Dudley match. Ended in 3 minutes from an elbow drop. I mean, I know he wasn't hitting his finisher the very best way he could, but I mean, an elbow drop? Come on! Then we had the segment that I personally found kind of hard to watch as it went on. Charlotte breaking up essentially with Ric Flair, telling him that he's useless and she doesn't need him anymore. I mean, we all know that Flair is a bit of a perv and he's an old dirty bastard, but we all love him, and seeing him crying like that, I thought it was really tough to watch, but it really put Charlotte over as this bitch who's ruthless and will do anything to stay at the top. So I really enjoyed that. And next up we had another Money in the Bank qualifying match. This time it was Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler in a pretty basic television match again. It went just under 9 minutes. Ambrose picking up the win. Poor Ziggles can't get a break, but I suppose it's better that Ambrose won than Ziggler. And after teasing us for weeks and weeks and possibly months about a possible Bullet Club in WWE, they gave it about 2 or 3 weeks of half-assed television before they broke up the club. Oh my fucking god, what a terrible name. That did not last long. Hopefully they have more long-term storyline plans in mind. Finn Balor. That brought us to our main event of the evening, AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens in another Money in the Bank qualifying match. Very good match, lots of nice high spots here. Both men showcasing what they can do. We all know what we can do and we love them for it. Kevin Owens gets the win. I like that. In 13 minutes, happy days. Kevin Owens is an absolutely fantastic heel. He is so good. So that's a total of 7 matches, the same as the Attitude Era Raw, totaling 57 minutes, more than half an hour more than the Attitude Era. As we know, the Attitude Era is an hour less in timing. But with promos, that makes it 122 minutes of the show in total was promo and wrestling. All in all, both shows were genuinely really fun, both coming off a pay-per-view, but I think I'll just have to give this one to the Attitude Era purely because they had that whole storyline arc throughout the whole show with Rock chasing Triple H down the whole way through. Other than that, I think the wrestling was obviously much better on the present day episode. Longer matches with, in my opinion, better talent. So there's the first episode, and I hope you enjoy, guys. I'll hopefully be doing this every single week. I think it's really interesting to see how we can compare Raw from present day to the old school and see just where we're going right, where we're going wrong, what we enjoy now, what we don't enjoy now compared to what we were getting back then. It goes both ways. So I hope you enjoy, guys. I will talk to you in the next one. See you later.